Hey everybody, Pastor Steve Hogg here with my friend and fellow church member Michael Baker. Glad you're here, bud.
Happy to be here.
We want to talk with you a moment about the upcoming Apologetics Conference at First Baptist, and the focus this year is on defining and defending marriage and the family. And Michael, I know you've attended the Apologetics Conference before. What has that meant to you?
It's absolutely one of my favorite things that we do here at First Baptist. I can't remember how many years in a row now, maybe three or four.
I think this will be our fourth
year. And the first year I came, it was just out of complete curiosity because there was going to be an apologetics conference accessible to me where I could come in person. I didn't have to watch video. I could get up, rub shoulders with people, go to sessions that I wanted, and I absolutely loved it. And it's been such a delight that they've continued to come back, and now we actually have a partnership with SES here at First Baptist.
Yeah, and I'm so excited about the partnership in this year's conference too. You mentioned you came the first time out of curiosity. What is it about an apologetics conference that made you curious in the first place?
Well, for me, and I may get in trouble for saying this, but one of the things that has been really important to me is one, like I'm raising children now, and I wanted to be equipped to not only help them with questions that they have, but just, the world just comes so fast now with how interconnected we are with the internet, with social media, so many things coming at us from many different ways. And I just wanted to feel very rooted in my faith. And there are certain things like that I'm not an expert in. Like we're looking at some of the folks that are going to come and speak, and I'm not an astrophysicist, I'm not a microbiologist, but there are people who have that knowledge base that are also devoted Christians and can give us answers that we can feel secure about as Christians and support our faith. And that was the big thing for me. I was just so curious to learn from some of these people that were going to be sharing from all different walks of life. And so that was the curiosity for me that started things. And then I had such a great experience that for me, it's kind of one of those dates now that I mark
every
on my
year,
calendar.
every October.
Absolutely.
For me as a pastor, I think I became heartbroken at seeing so many of our students, grow up in church, they have a relationship with Jesus. And we know there's a natural drift for some. Sure. But what I started noticing in recent decades was something newer. A lot of these students would go off to universities with the development of social media and easy access to all kinds of ideas. Their faith became more challenged, and they started walking away because we weren't talking about those issues that they were facing on campuses, or that they were facing when they opened up Snapchat or any of these.
Whatever the kids are using these days.
I'm old. I don't know what they're using.
They're not on Facebook anymore, like us older folks.
But I saw the damage that was doing. I thought, as a church, we have to be able to talk about these issues and not stick our head in the sand. And that's why I'm so excited that we get to host this and bring these great speakers in. And for those of you who are wondering what is apologetics, at its core, it's defending the faith. But it's really also giving everybody confidence that there are answers to every question some skeptic may ask. And even if we don't know all the answers, there are answers. And this conference is helping us know that. So
absolutely. And I appreciate what you're saying, because that was part of it for me, because I have young children.
Yes.
And as much as we know this as parents and grandparents, we can try our best to shelter and to guide, but their kids are going to grow up in the world too.
Yes,
and they're going to be exposed to things. They're going to hear things. They may even be singled out, like in a school setting, to be targeted because they are Christians or because they have a faith in Jesus. And I wanted to be equipped to be a safe space to say, actually, no, let's talk about that, and have either some resources or some answers to say, no, you know what, next time someone brings that up, here's a great question that you can ask them and have a dialogue with them instead of shutting down. And I think, at least for me, that's one of the biggest areas that I've tried to grow, is to not necessarily shut down when someone challenges a belief, or they maybe say something that I don't like. It's more of like, oh, well, let's have a conversation about it.
Because it opens up an opportunity to be a witness for Christ. I remember there was a man in my D group a couple of years ago, and after one of the conferences, especially Hugh Ross, who's the astrophysicist,
Yes.
Got his book, and then also got Frank Turek's book on Not Enough Faith to Be an Atheist, and he started having gospel conversations with a guy at the gym where he works out every day who said he was an atheist.
Right.
And also then, because of what we're doing, had resources he could give that man to read. Now, that man eventually bowled up because he was being challenged. Initially, there was interest. So some people, when they hear the truth, they're persuaded by it. Others don't want to be, and they bow up. That's what this guy did. But that's a conversation that likely never would have happened.
Absolutely.
If we had not been doing this kind of conference.
Well, you know what's interesting when you share that, because I remember, and you brought up Hugh Ross, and Hugh has been at our church several times, and he still is one of the smartest people that at least I have ever heard speak. So I'm struggling.
One of the kindest, one of the most gentle men.
Such a sweet, sweet soul, but I'm always like, it stresses my brain capacity to try to follow Hugh, but we love him for that, and we're glad that God is, God has given us people like you. But one of the things I remember him sharing is he said that was his experience. He said when he talked to a lot of his scientific friends and he would share with them, he goes, initially there was always fierce resistance.
Oh, okay.
He said there was this resistance, and so it was important for him to continue to have, gentleness and respect, and not, when they bow up at him, to bow up right back and to be offended by that. And he said, because what happens is like, that's just a natural, like, when we feel like we're wrong, like we want to defend.
That's true. It's almost like we're getting backed into a corner. And Peter talks about that in the New Testament, that we're to always be vigilant at sharing the gospel, preaching and doing evangelism. But he says, he says, I think it's in chapter 3, defend your faith. Right. Anybody who asks, but with gentleness and with respect.
And with respect.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that I took away, the big thing I took away from that discussion that Hugh was sharing, because he actively shares his faith in the scientific community.
We're the most intelligent people
the
in
most
the
brilliant
country.
people we can think about.
Yes.
And he said, there would be, he said, but he also said this, he said, usually the resistance would be the fiercest before there might be a breakthrough.
Wow.
And I've always thought about that, because if we are in the midst of trying to have a conversation with somebody, or sharing gospel with somebody, or having a spiritual conversation, and there's resistance, that it reminded me, don't fight back at that, because there might be a breakthrough, but if you come back at them,
then you make it personal.
And then maybe that opportunity is, we won't say lost, but maybe delayed.
Yes. Well, the power is in the gospel.
Absolutely.
It's not in us.
Yes.
It's in the gospel. And the truth, God uses the truth to break through. And so, it's having conversations with people on that level, but it's also, as I was talking about a moment ago, I think really equipping our students. And I want a student to leave here and go off to a university, and maybe they're challenged in a class or by a professor, and some do it intentionally. We know that. Even if they don't know the answer, we've equipped them so that they know there is an answer.
Right.
And they know where to go and get the answer, so that their faith isn't demolished by those arguments that Satan's going to throw in their path all the time.
Can I say something that may get me in trouble? Don't get nervous. But honestly, I believe this with all my heart. If you have high schoolers or college kids that could potentially come to this, this is worth missing a day of school to come be here. To be here on Friday. If you can make it on Saturday also, do that, because there are so many topics that we talk about in school. Yes. Biology, microbiology, astronomy.
Well, the gender identity and sexual ethics, which is a big part of this year's conference.
Correct. And every part of our lives, right, is addressed. Yes. And to me, especially, if you are able to take the day off of work or take a half day and be here, because you've got teenagers or you've got college kids, this is the kind of stuff that allows you to equip yourself for those conversations. Yes. And so to me, I couldn't stress that enough. My kids aren't necessarily old enough just yet to be here, but if we continue doing this, by the time that they're high schoolers, this will be something that they come to as well. I want
to affirm everything you just said. And, if we had been doing this when our children were still you know, that age. Absolutely. And the other thing to be aware of, folks, is there is a really large bookstore available during the conference that you can pick up all kinds of resources that you can then give people.
Yeah. I have to laugh because I'm a notorious book buyer. I'm like, oh, I'd love to read that. And every year I leave with all these books. And then I'm like, how am I going to have time to read all these books? But to your point, it's if you come and you have almost everybody that is on a platform here has literature, has resources, has books. They have their tables out, and you could come in and you can buy resources. So if you're in a session that's maybe 45 minutes long, but you just love the content, the likelihood is that person or that group is going to have resources here where you could go visit with them personally at the table. You can get access to resources, and you can continue the learning beyond just what happens here at SES.
And you may want to, something may be so important to you, you pick up a resource that you give to people, give to a grandchild.
Absolutely.
You give to a co-worker who has questions. Great resources. And we were talking about Hugh Ross. Actually, on the Sunday after the conference is October 10 and 11, which is a Friday and Saturday. Will end about 4:30, 5 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. But that Sunday morning, October 12th, Hugh Ross is going to be at First Baptist in a 9 o'clock session. And he's going to be talking about artificial intelligence, which is a big deal today.
You might have heard about AI. It's kind of the hot buzzword going on right now. That will be interesting because I know that there are tons of people who are very excited about AI and the technological developments that it can bring, but there are a lot of people very nervous about AI and what this may mean for the future. And so I personally, I don't even know what to expect, but I definitely will be excited to hear his take on it and to get.
Well, he's going to help everybody understand what it is, and what it can do and what it cannot do, because there are limitations to AI. Some people think AI is going to replace God and can do everything, but so I think it's going to be very informative. Another person who's going to be at First Baptist that Sunday morning is Corey Miller, and this is his first time to be at our conference. He'll be here at the conference as well, and he's got a powerful ministry on university campuses, and I can't wait to hear what he's going to talk to us a lot about what's going on in the university settings.
Right. Yeah. We were talking about Corey before. He's very involved in like this longer term strategy of how do we have believers in faculty roles or roles of influences on campus to start, continuing that dialogue where, if you sit on our side of the table as believers, one of the big, I think, laments that we've had is just how secular a lot of our institutions of higher learning have become. And, that dialogue is not even welcome. A lot of open Christian dialogue is not even welcome.
And it's almost like we've given over the faculty of the universities to people who are at times antagonistic to our faith and biblical values. And so his ministry is about identifying Christians to be professors, and they've had some real success around the country. One example is Purdue University. They've got a lot of Christian professors there now, which is, I think that's incredible.
I think it's incredible too. And I would particularly love to hear his insights, because one of the things that I continue to think about is one of the biggest decisions that a lot of families are trying to make is like, where are my kids going to go to college? And like, oh my gosh, like if they don't go to the right school or they don't go to this school, like their future is over. And I don't subscribe to that anymore. But I do think it's like part of us shepherding our children and the next generation is like, I want them to go to a place where they can be equipped. But I also want them to go to a place that's not going to try to just tear them down. I don't mind them being challenged, because that's the part of it, like SES is to equip us to be have those conversations. But I also don't want to just send them out into a place that's going to be completely hostile and antagonistic to them.
It's like you spend all these years raising your children and trying to teach them truth, and then you say, here, devil, I just want to turn my child over to you, and you do whatever you want to with them.
Absolutely.
And so I'm thankful. Corey is going to be speaking at 10:30 that Sunday morning. So it's going to be a great day to have Hugh talking about AI at 9, and then at 10:30, Corey talking about this university stuff.
That sounds like a Sunday that we got to double dip. We got to be at both services.
You're right. No, there'll be no life groups. We won't have our regular schedule. Think of it like we're having our own Apologetics Conference at First Baptist.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
And that's my plan, is to do that every year, is to have 2 sessions on the Sunday after the conference. Now, this year's it's all on defending the family and defining and defending the family and marriage. And looking through here, there's some panel discussions that get into gender identity and those issues in our culture. There's a session that will address the abortion issue some, but because that's one of the 2 or 3 biggest areas of debate and division in our culture right now. Is what is marriage, what is family, what is sex, sexual identity, gender, all of that. So that's not the only thing this conference is going to talk about, but it is weaved throughout the conference.
I agree. And one of the things, just to kind of go back to what we were just talking about, these are big issues, but these are also, if you think about them, they're also the issues where people get very emotional very quickly. And I think being grounded in your faith and having, the entire point of apologetics is being able to give an answer and defend the faith for the reasons, that you believe.
Or even knowing what questions to ask to help them think.
Correct. And I think that that's one of the things that I see missing so often is instead you're trying to give points versus just asking questions back to the other side and say, well, what about this?
Using the Socratic method to help people to break through some of those walls they put up. And by the way, before we end this, I want you to know that there are about 50 different breakout sessions. So we have the large group plenary sessions, but there's also these breakout sessions where dozens of topics are addressed. And in addition to the speakers we've already mentioned, Habermas. What's his first?
Gary Habermas.
Talk about him a little bit.
For those of you who may not be familiar with Gary Habermas, he's arguably the world's leading expert. He's for sure on the Rushmore if you wanted to rank the experts on the resurrection. I've personally have not missed a Habermas session here. Last year he did a thing on the Shroud of Turin. He's got his famous timeline where he breaks down the different topics about the resurrection.
Going through the chronology that can be a little bit confusing when you put the Gospels together.
Absolutely, and so he to me is one person that you can't miss. And in fact, we were sharing offline a little while ago that I was watching the film Case for Christ.
Yeah, because Lee Strobel's going to be with us at the conference next year.
Again,
in 2026.
Listen, we've got legit people coming to this conference. This is not something that you should take lightly. So Lee Strobel's coming. Lee Strobel wrote the book Case for Christ, which was made into a major motion picture. And I had forgotten that on his quest, where because he was an atheist who went out because his wife had become a believer, and he wanted to disprove. He wanted to deconstruct her. He wanted to deconstruct his wife. Interesting, but that's where he could not believe her faith. Right. And so he wanted to apply his investigative journalistic ability.
Because that's what he was as a career.
Correct. He wanted to apply that methodology to her faith. And so he went about interviewing people, and the person that he identified to interview about the resurrection was Gary Habermas.
Who will be here on Saturday afternoon.
So to me, if it were Gary by himself, that would be worth coming. Yes. But the fact that we have so many other people coming in, I think Elisa Childers.
I am she's going to be here Friday morning, and I am so excited about her. She's newer to a lot of people, but you need to find her on Instagram and stuff because she is really good.
Yeah. So if you go online to the SES website and you can pull up the agenda, you'll see a list of the speakers, you'll see a breakdown. It is a who's who of apologists and people who are strong in their faith, but also very specialized in their areas of expertise. And you just can't find this just anywhere. So this is something that I couldn't tell you. This is, like I said, I mark this date on my calendar every year because for me, it's a can't miss.
It's the same weekend. I don't remember the exact dates, but that October 11, 10, 12, somewhere in 2026. Already got it on our calendar here. And let me just say, this is one of the 3 or 4 premier apologetics conferences in the entire country every year. Yes. And Michael's right. Just Google SES Apologetics Conference. Southern Evangelical Seminary Apologetics Conference. You will find it, and you can register there. And we both want to strongly encourage you to do that right now.
I would go to check it out, register. If you've got teenagers, if you got college kids that could step away from class for a day, have them come to Friday. Saturday, of course, get up, come, grab your coffee, come here Saturday. But this is one of those things that, like, to me, if you're interested in growing in your faith, if you're interested in being equipped to go out into the world and have those spiritual conversations and be equipped to ask good questions, this is one of those things you can't miss.
And something this year, there is a student track. So we're not separating the students. We want them to come into the large group sessions to hear these keynote speakers, but during the breakouts, there's a track that they don't have to go to the track, but there's a track of breakout sessions just for students that they can follow as well throughout the 2 days of the conference, because we're very mindful of wanting to do our best to help our students too.
That's amazing.
So, hey, Michael, thank you so much,
Thank
brother.
you. This is a
so
pleasure.
glad we got to have this conversation, and we want to see you.
We'll see you there.
October 10, 11. Go ahead and register. Thank you.